guys, Jurassic Junkie here, and I've remembered today's Friday. Welcome to the Friday Night Rant. So no joke, last week, in my head, I had everything written down. I was like, right, I'm going to do the Friday Night Rant. And my mum phoned me up, she's like, oh, you're coming up tomorrow? I was like, no, I'm coming up Sunday. She's like, yeah, Sunday is tomorrow. I was like, no, today's Friday. She's like, no, it's Saturday. I was like, is it? And they just completely realised I had missed a day, so that's why we didn't film last week. So the first thing I want to talk about is Project Scorpio. Scorpio, for some reason, that's the new name. Project Scorpio, which I think is going to be called Xbox One X. We have seen a leaked Forza picture with an X in the top corner, which people was like, is it going to be Forza X? I think we're going to be calling the Xbox One X, which kind of makes sense. I like the word Scorpio, I think it's a really sexy name, but I think it makes sense to be called an X because you've got then the Xbox One S and the One X, which makes it all sound like it lives within the ecosystem of an Xbox One, which makes sense. Then you could say if you've got a One S or One X, no matter what you've got, the games all play on it. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it's going to be called the X, but nonetheless, the thing I want to talk about is the spec's been released, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about the spec like a lot of people are, because for one, if you are interested, you already know the spec, and two, if you're not interested, you don't give a fuck about the spec, so why talk about it? And also, on top of it, I've not actually sat down and looked at the details version of the spec because it makes no sense to me whatsoever. Now, back in the day, I used to be able to look and go, oh, there's so many gigs of memory and this is how much the computer should be able to run. But I find it impossible to do that on consoles because, yes, if you're going to build a PC and you say, this is the spec that I'm building it at, you can sit there and go, that sounds like a very good high-spec machine. But when it comes down to consoles, because they're optimized on top of the specification, it's quite hard to see because they can go, there's this much in this console and there's this much in this PC, but that console can outperform a PC because it's been optimized. Now, don't get me wrong, PCs can outperform consoles if you put more stuff in it, but the point is, it's very hard to get numbers on a piece of paper when it comes to consoles now and go, that looks fast. So what they've done is they've passed it to Digital Foundry, who's done it through a stress test to see exactly what happens, and the part that I am bothered by is its performance. Now what they've done is they've loaded up loaded up Forza. I don't know what version of Forza, if it's new or not. That shows how much I've looked into it. But the point is they've loaded in 4K textures to see what it runs at 4K. And it ran smooth as butter at 60 frames per second. And on top of it, the entire system only ran at 60% of its usage. So that means there's about 33% just sat there going, I've got plenty of spare room if you need it. Which is good because that means the games could still steal a bit more. And on top of it, it means there's a lot of room left for the system to be able to do things like party chat, music, and all the other bells and whistles in the background. So that is pretty good. And on top of it, I think they set the settings up to what would be ultra settings on a PC, and then the system ran at 80%, so still 20% sat there doing nothing. So it seems like they haven't just made a console and pushed it to its limits. They've given it a lot of wiggle room and gone, right, this can do 4K at 60 frames per second and still have a lot of spare room in case you want to do something on top, which is good because it feels like they're not just going, here's another version of the Xbox. They're kind of future-proofing themselves. I don't know what that was, but that is a good thing because if you remember back in the 360 days, when 360 came out and PlayStation 3 came out, both of them didn't have a party system, and then one day Microsoft went, let's make a party system, and added it because luckily enough they allocated some resources aside in case they wanted to add something later, which they did do. And then whereas PlayStation went, crap, we've 100% maxed out the usage of this console and we can't add something on top. So I think it's very good that not only does it work at 4K and 60 frames per second, it's got a lot of wiggle room on top. But then it comes down to, do I want one? Now, yes, of course I want one. Give me one now, please. But the problem is, you've got to pay for it. And it's not just, I'm going to say £500 is a ballpark figure. Let's say it's £500, and as I've said, I need to buy a 4K television, which is probably going to be £500 plus. So let's just say it's going to cost me £1,000. Now, I could spend £1,000 on this, and what it's going to do is not give me the ability to play any more different games. Like, for instance, when I was playing my Xbox, I decided I wanted a PlayStation. Cost me £100, and now I've been given a large catalogue of games I didn't have access to. Cost me £100, very small amount of money, and what I've got back as a gamer is a very big thing, a big catalogue of games. Now, going to 4K is going to cost me 10 times the amount, so it's going to cost me nearly £1,000. And what am I going to get back in return? Yeah, I'm going to get some really good looking games, and I want to play in 4K. But does it justify £1,000 or £500 to most people? And I don't think it does. So at the moment, I would say 30% saying I might do, 60% saying definitely not, and then that leaves a nice little 10% of just the idiot inside me goes, I'm fucking buying it last minute, and just goes out and buys it. But the thing really that I want to talk about is when it comes down to gaming, the number one thing about gaming is obviously fun. Games should be fun. It's not about the graphics, we all know that. It's all about the playability, the dynamics of the game, how well they all work and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what gaming is about. But the Scorpio is a different beast. It's about 4K, so this is a graphics porn machine. So what it's designed for is people who want the games to look absolutely beautiful. Now I understand there is a market for that, but the thing is, I believe Microsoft is the weaker of the two when it comes down to this graphics porn. Now, let's just say, well, it is coming out around Christmas, the Scorpio. So what we've got is E3 coming up, and I'm hoping they've got some very secret announcements close to the chest, but let's just go on like they haven't. So what we've got to look forward to for Xbox is Crackdown, Sea of Thieves, and like State of Decay. Now, these are 3 games that do not push graphics. Like, I've been playing Sea of Thieves on the alpha, absolutely brilliant game, to the point I'm more excited about that game than anything else this year. But the point is, it's cel shaded and a cartoon-like kind of graphics, and that works perfectly for Sea of Thieves. It needs to be like that, I think. But the point is, that's not going to showcase 4K. Now, yes, you're going to get better clean lines, you can load in 4K textures so the rocks look better, but these rocks aren't photorealistic rocks. These are hand-drawn, cartoonish rocks. So I don't think 4K can showcase this. On top of it, you've got State of Decay. Now, the last one, yes, it was on the 360, so it does look a bit ropey now, but it still wasn't leaning towards that photorealism, beautiful graphics. It still had a cartoony-ish look to it. Not 100%, but a kind of. And then on top of it, you've got Crackdown, again, a cel-shaded kind of game. It's not designed to make you go, this looks like I'm staring into a movie. So I feel like the games that they've got aren't the ones to showcase it. Now, yes, you've got Forza, and Forza is going to probably be one of the big things to go, look how pretty this looks in 4K. But I am not bothered about a driving game to sell me 4K. I want more than that. But then if you jump to the other side, you've got PlayStation. Now, PlayStation's got Detroit Human, which looks gorgeous. You've got Days Gone, which is a zombie kind of game I've only just found out about, and that looks absolutely gorgeous. Last of Us Part 2, obviously that's going to be stunning. And then you've got Death Stranding. So these 4 games are the games that you look at and go, they're trying to achieve photorealism. It looks so realistic. Sometimes when you look at it in a particular set of lighting, you go, I can't fucking tell. I don't know if this is a photo of real life or is this is a game. So it's weird if we could swap the roles around and Xbox had that lineup and there was going, we've got a Scorpio and this set of games, I'd be like, yes, please, you're selling me the console. But it feels like the lineup of games, even though they are strong games, aren't graphically strong. So I'm hoping what's happening is Microsoft has got 1 or 2 IPs, they've kept quiet, and at E3 they're going to go, here's the Scorpio, this is how sexy it looks, and boom, here's 2 games, for instance, that you didn't know about. But I don't think they are, because Microsoft are, they tell too much lately. They don't give you everything, but they do give you hints all the time, like something's coming up or working on an IP. And they give you those kind of cryptic clues, and they've not given us anything to say they're working on these secret IPs. Now, I could be wrong, and it's because they're holding the cards close to the chest, and if that's the case, perfect. You've done it well. You've got this fucking wicked machine, and you've potentially got something hidden to show us at E3. But if you don't, I can't justify buying the Scorpio when you haven't got something to showcase it just yet. So I think my stance on it will be to treat it like it's a new console. So for instance, I didn't have a PlayStation. Well, I had one at the start, but I got rid of that quite quickly. But the point is, I waited 2 or 3 years. Now I've brought myself a PlayStation. I've got a back catalogue of games. I'm like, give me, give me, give me. And I'm enjoying them. So I think I might treat Scorpio like that, where I'll wait a year or two and then wait for these beautiful graphic games to come, and then I'll buy them on the Scorpio and enjoy a big catalogue of games instead of just 1 or 2 and then sit waiting 6 months to a year for the next one. So yes, that's my sense on the Scorpio. It's one of them grey areas. I don't fully know what I want. I'm still saving the money up for it. I've got £500 set aside for Scorpio, but I think it's the best thing to do is save up for it, and if I don't want it, I've got £500 to £1,000 sat there to spend on something else. So we will see. So the next thing, well, the last thing I want to talk about, because I have got a list of things I would love to sit and talk about, but the problem is it's a sunny day and I want to get my garden done. So the last thing I want to talk about is rewards. Now in life, you get rewards and everything. If you buy a Costa coffee, you get a reward card. You go to McDonald's and get a coffee reward. I don't know why I'm using coffee as an example, but the point is, lots of services always give you rewards for buying things, and it's good because sometimes it just plays with your mind. Like if you're going to point A and point B and they're both selling the same product, but it's slightly dearer there, sometimes you're more inclined to go to the dearer place for a reward. Now the reward might not be even worth the extra money you've paid, but it does something in your head going, yeah, it's collecting things. So I don't understand why consoles don't push rewards more. Now, yes, we've got this physical and digital age at the moment, and they're trying to fight each other, and we know they want us to go digital because then the second-hand sale markets die, and then they can control the prices a bit more. So it's in their interest to kill off physical. So I don't know why they don't try and incentivize us by saying if you buy digital games you're going to get rewards. Now 1 or 2 people are sat there going, but they do. And yes, rewards do exist on all 3 of them, but they're shit. Now let's talk about Xbox to start off with. If you're not a part of any of these reward schemes, you might as well join them. They're not amazing, but you can earn some money from them. Now you've got Xbox Rewards. Now this is a service that I've been a part of for many years now, and they make it so fucking complicated to the point that I keep abandoning it, and every so often I come back. Now with Xbox Rewards, there's 2 things that you can do. Now 1, you fill in surveys and do certain things and you get points. Points are then converted to Microsoft points, which are then converted into money, which is a bit shit because you never actually fully know what it is. If they said this point is worth 2 pence, I know where I stand, but I don't. That point's worth Microsoft points, which is worth pounds. So yes, it's a stupid way of doing it, but nonetheless, you can do small little things to get points that they then put into your account you can spend on games, which is a good thing. But the way they do it is they don't say, okay, you're going to earn points just by buying stuff. They put it behind a paywall. So they say, right, what you need to do is climb a tier. Now if you get up to a certain tier, we'll give you money back on your purchases. Now the first tier, level 1, gives you 2% back on your purchases. But to reach level 1, you need to spend £200 on digital content in the first place to get to tier 1. To get to tier 2, you get 4% off, but that costs £400 to get to. And the thing is, you've got to get to this tier before you even see the rewards, and this tier that you've climbed lasts 1 year, then it drops back down and starts again. So it seems a very shit way to get money back, is to spend a lot of money to then get 2%, but you don't get it on all that money you've spent, you get it on the future amount that's left within the year, and then you lose it. So I think it's very shit the way they do it. So I was like, right, Microsoft's way is a bit crap, let me try PlayStation. Now from what I can tell, PlayStation's is quite simple. Every time you buy something you get a point, and then that point again gets converted and you can spend it. I was like, that makes more sense, PlayStation, thank you very much, I shall join your rewards program. So I typed my details in, logged in, and it just turned around and went, fuck you, because you're not American, which is great. So yeah, if you're not in America, so if you're in Canada or anywhere else, you can't be a part of this service, which is shit. So this brings you to the person 3, Nintendo. And I can't understand, well, I can understand, more and more I play Nintendo, the more and more I think they're doing things right. Now, their reward system is fantastic. If you buy a digital game or content, you automatically get points. Just done, it's done. Don't matter where you are in the world, straight into your can, nice and easy. If you buy a physical game and you're the first person to have that game, you put the cartridge in, you go to the menus and it says redeem points. So you can even earn them off physical games. And these games, obviously, once you've redeemed it, and if you sell it and then someone tries it, the cartridge knows it's already been redeemed. But you can still buy a second-hand game if someone's forgot to redeem it, put it in, so you can get points off second-hand if someone's not used it, first-hand physical, and digital. And it doesn't matter where the fuck you are in the world. Now, Nintendo has got this perfect, and it's one of them things now, like when games come out and they're on across all 3, it's now I have to question why do I want it on each system. Now, I've just brought Snake Pass and I've decided to buy it on the Switch, and the reason being, the Switch is new, it needs my help. I want to inject money into that company to just make it a competitor again. So that's why I picked that. But that aside, it made me go, right, what do I want? Because if I go with Xbox, I can get my time recorded, which PlayStation doesn't do. But if I go with Xbox and PlayStation, I can get trophies and achievements, which Nintendo doesn't do. But then if I go with Nintendo, I can play on my handheld, which is great if I want to play it in bed. Now, some games don't warrant a handheld. I don't like playing it all the time, but games like Snake Pass are perfect for it. So that was another reason I went to Nintendo. But the point is, if somebody's got all 3 systems or just 2 systems, to make them stand out and go, why do I want to pick it between them if they're identical? It should be a strong reward system that says, come with us and you're going to earn 2% back or 10% back, or you get some points for this, or whatever it is. So I think it's weird that lots of companies out there, petrol stations, places where you can even order pizza, everywhere, gives you rewards all the time. But when it comes down to consoles, and we spend a fucking lot of money on them, they give you shit rewards or make it complicated or go, fuck you, you don't live in the right region. So I would like to see more people adapt to how Nintendo work. And that's me again saying how much I like Nintendo, which is shocking, but it's good. I'm pleasantly surprised at how Nintendo is at the moment, and I would like to see more of it. So that's me done and dusted. I'm going to go outside now and dig soil. Yay. But I would like to know what everyone else's opinions on the Scorpio. Is it enough to sell it to you? But the one thing I will say, if you're an Xbox user and you've only got an Xbox, my advice to you would be you would get so much more by buying another console like a PlayStation. I would say Switch, but it is lacking games at the moment. But I would say get yourself a PlayStation or over a Scorpio, because you're going to get more back for your money. You're going to get a massive catalogue of games that you've not been able to play versus a few extra sexy pixels. But if you want to just stick with Xbox, or you've already got both, are you going to get a Scorpio? If so, why? And if not, how long are you going to hold out for? Because I do really want one. I just can't justify that price tag, even though I've made the price tag up myself. So as always, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I shall chat to you next week. Cheers, guys. Bye.